What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another extraordinary episode of the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast. I'm your guy, Nate Bennett, riding solo tonight, as you see. This episode, as all the episodes are, is brought to you by the Extraordinary Men and the Extraordinary Investment Group. 12 Black men in the community doing our part to educate our community through education and smart financial strategies. So y'all are going to be educated tonight on a phenomenal individual, entrepreneur, mom, wife, sister, just a community activist, a educator, just a phenomenal human being who's been a supporter of the Extraordinary Investment Group for some time now. She is family, not to me, but to one of the gentlemen in the group. But yeah, you're going to hear her story, understand what it is that she does, hear her passion. She is the heart, mind, and soul of Legacy Performing Arts. Not only does she run that studio, but she also mentors, sign language interprets at the theater performances, and helps connect students with many opportunities and so many other things. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast. Ms. Taryca Baltimore. What's going on?
Thank you. Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the wonderful introduction as well. Thank you.
Yeah, just kind of been a long time coming. You didn't know of it, but Mike and the fellas on the pod have been talking about this happening for some time now. So
I'm glad we can make it happen.
Who is a supporter of ours. If I'm not mistaken, you were present at our first inaugural Juneteenth Black Business Expo.
Yes.
Over at the People's Church. So we've come a long way in these last 4 or 5 years since then.
Yeah. We had a great time when we were there, though. So, you got to start somewhere. And that was, you guys had a strong start. So we'll just say that. Great entertainment, beautiful vendors, beautiful people, so when that happens, when the community comes together, it grows. It has no choice.
Yeah, we gotta thank, like, again, supporters like yourself and the community, because who knows if we didn't have that great start out the starting blocks, if we would have sustained that event going forward. But this is not about us, it's about you. Please share with the listeners just a brief synopsis of kind of who you are and what it is that you do.
So, of course, I am the proud owner of Legacy Performing Arts Company in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We do classes for jazz, ballet, tap, modern, name it, contemporary, of course, hip hop, right? We even had break dance that will be coming back this summer that comes to us seasonally by an amazing artist, Jose Parada. And he's really about reaching the boys and bringing them into our community and off the streets and onto the dance floor. With that being said, we also have acting classes that is like my heart and soul other than dance, but it's really not just working on performances and putting on entertainment, but it's also about teaching a lesson. So everything that we do in the studio comes with a story. When we're dancing, it's about the passion behind the dance. We try not to focus specifically on technique. Obviously that matters, right? But sometimes you see these beautiful artists that are doing street art and they'll perform anywhere in the area, not just in a studio, and they're more attractive and you learn more from them. So we like to think of our dancers, our upcoming dancers, as artists, or of course, upcoming artists and leaders in the community. So that is the base of Legacy Performing Arts, and we welcome anybody and everybody, any body shape, color, ethnic background. We welcome them into our house.
For sure. Well, thank you for that. And we'll get to Jose and how you brought him on to bring the boys in, because a lot of times when you hear like performing arts or dance studio specifically, you think of either girls doing ballet or something of that nature, and that's not always the most masculine, whatever that means.
That's right.
Thing to do. So we'll get into that. But my favorite part of the podcast, one of them, is hearing these origin stories. I love a good origin story. Yeah. Hearing the purpose behind the passion and how you, initially got into doing that. So what's the story behind that, if you could share?
Sure, sure. I have to say this because my best friend will be watching, I'm sure, and she will call me out. Miss Jonna Panky, she and I, when we were in high school, back in
Whoa, 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 whoa,
yeah,
you doing that? What age you got
okay,
sales on here?
somewhere there, right?
Yeah, back in
She,
the day,
we
couple
were,
years.
we were in a digital design class, and she said, just create a web page, right, of what you want to do when you grow old, when you get older, or when you're able, or you have the means to do something, create your own business, or do something in community, create a site that reflects that. And I had a whole website on Debbie Allen. It was
Wow.
Debbie Allen and pictures of her and just accomplishments that she had already done at that point. She hadn't really reached other milestones that we know of her now, with, of course, all of the dance competitions and more movies and more shows, and obviously her studio in California. But I was just intrigued by her personality, the work ethic, obviously old reruns of Fame, right? That my mom kind of just showed us and pushed in there. But I designed a website and I called it Little Debbie Studio. So
Mm.
my friends started calling me Little Debbie, which was, kind of like a little fun in just our little group. We were on step team and cheer and doing all these things, but my nickname was Little Debbie to them. So it started there. As just a dream in a make believe website, right? And then as I journeyed through college, I was thinking, hey, I'm going to do speech pathology, right, and go help the deaf community, and that's kind of where I picked up my sign language skills. But in doing that, I miss dancing. I miss performing. I miss making people feel something. So I saw an audition, and it was at the great HBCU of Shaw University down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I said, I'm going to do this audition, and just for fun. And I mean, I went in there and auditioned, got the role, and it was not the lead, but a co-lead, and started doing some professional theater inside the school and outside. Transitioned to Towson University because they just had a nice big platform for the arts where I could do both instead of having to choose dance or theater. And I never looked back from there. So when it comes to building the studio, I had a beautiful family support in the very beginning that said, we believe in you. We want to see this happen. And that was back in 2018. So with their love and support, we got the studio up and running in another area in Gaithersburg. With the pandemic, I learned that, we had to close down. And I know, we always talk about, depending on the area, which was brought up earlier, that you were in. Some studios shut down and some didn't. Our studio and the owner of the studio did, he really wanted us to go ahead and close the doors. And because it was my passion, it hurt. It's like you put all this work into something and you really feel like, oh, my dream just came true. It started off really easy,
Mm.
So I didn't take it for granted, but I didn't realize that something that can come so easily can also be removed even faster. So with that being said, not just myself was affected, but my dancers, the older dancers that had been dancing for some time and kind of following me from studio to studio until I opened my own. I found that there was like wellness in dance, not just fun. So
Mm.
some of my girls, they were high school to middle school age, started to get or show signs of depression. When we shut our doors, the parents started reaching out to me, calling, emailing. They're like, Mister, you have to do something. We will donate a driveway outside and put a canopy up just so you can get out here and do dance with the girls. We can't let you close. So with that being said, I started my own virtual classes, and then in 2021 reopened in Gaithersburg, and welcomed my girls back home. So we have just been growing ever since.
Wow, wow. That's
Yeah.
that's a beautiful story.
Sorry,
And
it gets
I like how you
a
ended it.
little
You
bit.
welcome them back home because
Yeah.
a lot of times when you're doing other activities outside of whatever vocation or career you're in, and home and your actual physical home and then school, these activities and the people that you do it with become your family members.
That's right.
Becomes that home away from home. And it, like you said, during the pandemic, we were all shocked to have what our reality was at that time be shifted. And
Yeah.
home for me was the basketball court. All right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't congregate with the fellas on a weekly basis and just shoot some who, I'm well in my
Oh yeah.
40s now. I'm not about to win no NBA championship, but not having that
Right.
definitely affected me personally, not just physically, but my mental health.
Hmm.
So, I'm ain't dealing with any depression or anything, but that home away from home being stripped away from me was definitely catastrophic to say the least. But also, you mentioned community.
Right.
We talk a lot about community and how that community kind of closed ranks and helped you, start that journey in 2018 was beautiful. So could you go into kind of what that process was like, whether it was like finding a studio,
Oh
finding the
yeah.
different help? I'm sure like permits went into
Oh my
that.
goodness. Yeah. That's the real fun, right? The
Right,
paper
right.
trail. So
If I'm
I
bringing up too many traumas from your past, we can bypass
definitely. So I, with the help of one of my cousins, who's more, I want to say, she was an entrepreneur already for years.
that.
She kind of gave me some sites to look at rental properties
Mm,
for real estate, and there were a bunch of places available because of closings and things like that, which was, kind of as you're going into it, you're thinking, "Ooh, should I be doing this?" They
right.
weren't able to reopen or sustain, so there were a lot of question marks. So a couple different tours within, I want to say the same 10-mile radius of where we landed,
Mm,
and nothing seemed to be the right fit, or it was just too on the outskirts of where I wanted like just a solid community to be. So
mm,
I looked into I went to actually Victor Litz, which is the instrumental store right next to the studio. So I went there to get a like aux cord or something just for my personal home stereo system. And I went over, if you walk straight across from it, there's this beautiful railroad track where everything intercepts. So I call it now the heart of Gaithersburg.
mm,
It's a lot of historical sites there in a little plaza. I went over there. I was like, "Oh, look at the train. This is so cute," right? Because I'm, distracted by the scenery. And then I turned around to take a picture. I went to do the little selfie
mm,
in
mm.
front of this train, and I looked up, and it said for lease,
Wow,
former dance studio in Zumba space. So
wow.
I went ahead and gave them a call immediately. And within the next 2 weeks, we started to do like the paperwork. And like you said, City of Gaithersburg, because we're in their, lines, you do have to
Mhm,
get a little permitting done. They have someone come out to inspect the building. The fire marshal has to approve the location, and we do live in we do work in I want to say it's a grandfathered building, so there are no
mm,
elevators, right? It's a 2-story. So just kind of what the precautions are with that and different emergency exits protocols. So with a little back and forth and me getting them paperwork and just what we would need to do in emergency situations involving children,
right.
and a bunch more paperwork, because when you're working with children, they do really make sure that everything is with a fine tooth comb.
Mhm,
My leasing landlord as well is a lawyer. He's a land lawyer. So he
mm,
I was kind of lucky in that way where he helped with a lot of that, kind of getting things set up and anything that I wasn't already savvy on. He's like, "Hey, just give me a call. I'll help you through it." So he really wanted to see it open. He wanted to see families back out in the community and, doing things active together. So yeah.
there you go. Community again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. And also, it's beautiful how you kind of like when you're looking for your keys, looking for your remote, you know where you left it, and you're looking, you're looking, you're looking. You were looking at all these different locations, and then the
Right.
one time you kind of took your foot off the gas, you just taking a selfie, and then boom, it was right there in front of you, in your
Yeah.
face. I love just that consistency and you doing something so frequently, and then getting into action. Is the universe, God, whoever you
Right.
subscribe to. For me, it's God.
Definitely.
They
It's God for me. I say he sometimes just shines a light right there. Look up. and you have it. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right,
Ah,
he is calling me. Mike is calling me right
ah,
now.
okay.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay.
What's going on, good sir?
What it do, my brother?
How you gonna interrupt us during the podcast, though?
Oh shit, my bad, y'all.
Yep, that's my brother.
Yep.
Yep.
Right now. I mean, I can edit this out, but what's going on?
Oh yeah, my bad, dog. What's up, Reed?
Hey.
Hey, baby. Yo, it's crazy because I just looked at my phone. I'm like, all right, that joint said the 20th. Let me see how that joint went.
Oh yeah, we had to make a little audible real quick, and we did it today.
Yeah, my bad. So I apologize. I thought I was trying to check up to see how it went.
No, you good. We about halfway through. I'll hit you up afterwards.
All right, yeah, my bad. Love you guys, though.
Love you too. Such a big brother.
This guy.
Oh my gosh. That's my guy.
So a lot of what we talk about on here often is how people take life experience from either their childhood or in their specific vocation, yours as an educator. Talk about how that served you well in the capacity that you're in now. Because I love how
definitely, yeah,
you not only teach, technique, dance, acting, all that good stuff, but there's also similar to a lot of the fellas in the investment group, my basketball coach. So yes, I teach basketball, but you're also teaching life skills along with that. Talk about how your experience as a teacher has also been able to help you within that capacity as an entrepreneur.
Oh, definitely. I never thought I was going to be a teacher when it came to in the school, right? Because when I was in school, I said, how do I get out of school as fast as I can? I'm not saying I wasn't a good student. It's just a matter of like, okay, it's time. I've been here long enough, right? And you're going from Head Start at that time, all the way through the college, which is great. And I appreciate every step of the way now. But I did not see myself as a teacher. I did have a mentor in high school that said to me, it was an English teacher, an African-American man. And he really helped me out when it came to essays and writing. It's an area that I struggled in. And actually English, that proper language, right? Proper class where you're working on just pronunciation and clarity and details and elaborating was a struggle for me. So just speaking in front of a crowd at that time I would get sweaty palms and be a nervous wreck. So I did have a mentor in high school that helped kind of guide me into wanting to go to college and showing me an appreciation through the arts, but using African-American figures to do that. One of the things being like African-American History Month and creating these elaborate assemblies where he made the students come together, research and present or perform or educate our other peers on just beautiful figures and not the standard figures, right? Like not everybody knows, the Martin Luther King, which we are grateful for, right? And the Harriet Tubman's, but he's like, there are so many more people out there. And he really just kind of, I'm going to say, blessed us with history of music and Miles Davis and just works that, individuals put out like Langston Hughes. So as I actually started to appreciate education on my way out of high school, something when I started to kind of get into work started to trigger me back to, you know what, well, maybe I'll do, the younger kids and kind of teach them up about, not just regular education, stay in the guidelines, but when it comes to these amazing moments of Black history, be able to educate something that now I'm passionate about because someone taught that to me. So just paying it forward in such a way. So also with family, there was opportunities in the community to go out and tutor and work with younger children in the Potomac area. And I say that because in that area, we are not the majority, right? So it was finding it's a community that my cousin led of people called Scotland, where we would go down there and do tutoring and share Black history facts. So I was able to be a part of that. So the more that I started to give to the community, I kind of found myself in this teaching, mentoring role that I just never saw myself in. And I worked as most of the time a coach or director in gymnastics or dance facilities. So when that kind of chapter came to a close, just because of location and the owners moving on, not in a bad way, but just, something they had to do. It was time for me to kind of figure out, what do you want to do? So I applied to work at a school, and, they said, you got to go back to school. I said, okay, and you got to take more classes to be in the field. And then a private school reached out to me, and they said, actually, you have everything that we're looking for an American Sign Language instructor. Come on in, you can take the classes while you're working. You have 2 years to get it done. So with that training and education, and starting to kind of learn that each child, they're just individuals. They don't all learn the same, and really meeting them where they are and focusing on individualized skill growth versus group skill growth, and putting them under that pressure and setting up false expectations, because none of these individuals in the room are alike. It definitely transitioned to the studio. And as I bring over other coaches and teach dance educators, I ask them, I'm like, do you have a teaching background? Have you ever taught kids? Because you can be a phenomenal dancer, but if you don't know how to respect a child, I can't have you in my facility. So we are big about uplifting kids too. So it's about teaching them the dance elements behind the skills, why you're doing what you're doing, just for your body's wellness. But obviously, being an educator, it kind of teaches you to kind of really break down those things into steps and make it make sense to your student. And I've been able to do that and share with other dance coaches that may be coming in a little younger and with less experience, but they grasp it and they see the growth, and that it's going to take time, right? It's not going to happen overnight. So that education background definitely has blossomed the studio and changed me. Yeah.
That individualized learning, as someone who's a girl dad that has 2 daughters and both of them are polar opposites, you can love them the same, you can give them the same, but you got to cater the lessons to that individual, right?
That's right.
Especially in a group setting, right? Like we know, standardized tests weren't made for us
Right.
years ago if we're dating ourselves. And I would always have an issue. I was always a great student, but certain standardized tests like the SATs, I had to get extra work for,
right?
Because certain things we weren't grasping. English again wasn't something that I grasped naturally. But yeah, just having that individualized training is super, super dope that you recognize that, as opposed to, like you said, just having a class where everyone's doing the same thing, either fall in line or fall out, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah. And that's what most places are built like. It's like you either, fit in or you don't. And if you don't, you just find yourself making your way out, so at some point. And shout out to you for saying that as a girl dad. I appreciate that. My dad was a girl dad. So, and then, of course, I have my brothers from my father's side. So it's just something to learn. They're all emotionally different, and they do learn differently. I mean, all kids do, but the awareness that you had for that, and I know it's about legacy and me today, but Nate, that's awesome that you.
No, I wouldn't be the man I am today if I had sons. I grew up wanting to have sons, wanting to, have that chip off the old block, teach them everything that, I learned. And I'm not gonna lie, I was disappointed when I found out I was gonna have a daughter. I think my ex-wife was even more disappointed when she found out. She was like, in the actual appointment. But then you realize, like, God has something more for us than we ever realized. And it's the greatest blessing in my life to have 2 daughters. One that's not biologically mine, but then this other one over here. It changed me, and it makes me more aware. It has made me an advocate. So again, not to be about me, but I'm her basketball coach now.
Right.
I knew about the WNBA. I followed the WNBA loosely, but I wasn't as dedicated to enriching and growing the sport of women's basketball as I am today, because I'm her coach, because I wanted to show her that representation of going to WNBA games. Now she loves the game of basketball now, which was my first love, but Yeah. Anyway.
No, that's everything. It's something that you said I didn't know that about you. Thank you for sharing that, but it's my stepdad raised me
Mm,
along with my sisters and I. So like you said, we weren't biologically his, but when I tell you the presence of a father and what that does in a good one, someone that steps up and takes that place. And even in my dance journey, I look back and my mom was sick for years.
mm,
She ended up with cancer right around the time that I started becoming better at dance, right? And
mm,
actually starting to realize what it was in middle school. She was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And my stepdad, and I just call him dad, this is my bonus dad,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
They had been married. He saw me working hard in the craft. I'm the third girl, right?
mhm,
One
mhm.
that wanted to dance and do all these things, the big dreamer. And when I tell you that man would get off work tired, and I saw that he was tired. Also a Bulls fan like you, which is just hearing you say that, I'm like, it's full circle for me in this conversation. But he was the one driving me back and forth to dance classes and sitting there watching me do the classical ballet that I'm sure he wasn't interested in, but he never complained. He was always my cheerleader, by my side. And it may have been because, he knew mom was sick and somebody has to step in and be the cheerleader. But the type
Mhm.
of men that you guys are to be able to step in and do that for somebody who isn't biologically yours, but you treat them no different and you push them just as hard and sometimes even harder because you know what they've gone through. That's huge. So we're thankful for y'all.
Shout out to my brothers in E.I.G. Several of us are fathering children that aren't biologically ours, and it's it's always interesting because people outside of the relationship here, um, they always ask me, "Oh, how's your daughter doing?"
Mm-hmm.
I always respond, "Oh, they're both doing great." And they forget I have one
Right.
that's older. They only acknowledge the younger one, or even they think that the love that you have for one is supposed to be different than the other because one is biologically yours, one isn't.
That's right.
Is I get it, but unless you're in that position, you don't know, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and again, our presence,
Right.
your presence as a parent, my presence as a father. Um, we can buy our kids anything. We talk a lot about financial literacy on here and
Oh,
building
yeah.
that financial legacy, but our presence and the intangible things that we instill into our kids through activities like dance, through basketball, through you talked about going out in the community and volunteering. My kids know that firsthand. They go to the retirement home I work at and they'll help decorate for the holidays, or we've been to shelters where you're giving the less fortunate food, or even in EIG we have clothing drives. Like, really being a part of community is important to us all. So thank you for the community that you've developed over there with the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. um all right, so what are some of the intangibles that you can learn from the plethora of activities that y'all offer over there?
Oh, yeah.
Out, you know
So, and I'm like, how do you zero that in, right? Like, nail it down. So I want to say I'm going to start with ballet,
Mhm,
obviously, right? It's
mhm,
the core, the foundation. It's also the one that most people avoid doing, right? Because it's slow, and
mhm,
a lot of times kids get bored with it. But so ballet, that core foundation, and building that, and just getting to know your body, right? So no matter how, if you start young, as you become an older adult, you're more in tune with your body. And I say
mhm,
that the muscles, what your muscles need to actually work and function well. Also, brain fog, right? Avoiding things like that. So, eating the right things. We don't, judge what our girls are eating. We just give them ideas on healthy options, right?
mhm,
And I say that, and I say it passionately because growing up, of course, within the African American community, that's not something that I learned growing up at all. So you're dancing, you're running around all week doing all these sports and athletics, but you're not feeding your body the fuel that it needs
mhm,
to actually do its best work. So body self-care is the number one thing. So any dance form, any class that you're in with us, there's posters on the way into the studio and throughout that kind of reminds you to take care of yourself. And that also with injury, it's just teaching you to kind of take everything slowly, pace yourself, because that physical therapy is within dance styles, like ballet as well. Oftentimes you'll be in a ballet class, you'll say, oh, I did this at PT. That's crazy. It's the same thing, but just that full body awareness. And then when we talk about our teams, which I know I haven't mentioned yet, we do competitive teams and we offer that. It's a matter of one, believing in yourself, and in any job in the future, anything that you are going to find yourself in, looking for a position that somebody may say no to. We do make sure that girls do an audition process and they're all accepted. But it's a training on, you have to go in here, you have to look a specific way. It's preparing them for the future. And I am hard on them if they come in and they don't have it correct, because somebody else isn't going to give you a second time, a second chance. I am going to do it, go back, do it again, and come back in here the right way. And you may be mad at me today, but on that day that you go for that interview for, cybersecurity or whatever the case, you're going to say, oh, Miss Taryca told me to come in this way. My hair is secure. Everything is secure. My presence is ready to perform. So whatever that may be, in that moment for them. And then, of course, within our teams, as coaches, we don't select the leaders. They actually find themselves in a leadership position, through their peers kind of pushing them up into that, and kind of realizing like, oh, I do work hard outside of here. I do practice, maybe more than others. I do know what I'm supposed to be doing when it comes to the stage. I don't have the stage fright. I can talk to somebody about it and they're going to listen to me, and they just feel valuable. So we build leaders amongst our teams that way. I always tell the teachers, we don't pick, let them decide who they are, within, and then others will promote and watch how that happens. So leadership and just wellness, body awareness, those are, just things that you can literally take through the rest of your life.
That confidence. Yes, it's always good to be edified by an older mentor, teacher, or something. But when you're edified by your peers and your peers put you in that, man, it's something, building that confidence.
Right.
And walking with that posture and that kind. And I love how you just said, my presence is ready to perform. Having that presence and ready to perform in any capacity, right?
Any capacity.
It could be in an interview later on. It could be you're giving a recital or a thank you speech, right? Because you excel so much on, in the arts. Like all that is key. And I like to think that's the main separator from like really, really high achievers and just like your average person, is that confidence.
That's right.
Having confidence, wherever that confidence stems from, whether, again, with me, I'm gonna bring up God. I'm not afraid to bring up God on
That's
this.
right. Yeah.
Confidence, knowing that I was, crafted in his image, and knowing that he put all this excellence together, handcrafted it, right?
Right.
A lot of people don't walk with that same posture, that same level of confidence. So I love that. I love how y'all teaching that over there.
That is so true. And our girls are coming from different diverse groups, also different income levels, right? So sometimes when you're in a dance studio, and we've been to different places, you have girls, I have, girl and boys and my bonus babes, and I've been through football programs, gymnastic, dance, cheer, and you see, exactly, those numbers, right? And that only some of us are going to be able to provide this for our children, which is why sometimes they may be the only ones in the room that look like them, right? And that also kind of messes with their confidence level. It's like, well, do I belong here? Right. And then we, as parents and supporters, we're like, yeah, show them that you belong here. And that's been our language. And that language comes from our parents, right? Show them that you belong here at this table, at this studio, at this floor. But when it comes to different income levels too, dance has a lot of equipment, right? So you have the leotards, the wardrobe, costuming. If you want to do competition, there's additional fees. So it is one of my biggest things when I am doing outreach in the community. And within the dance studio is finding a place, or, of course, donors for our dancers that may not be able to afford it. They have the skill ability, the talent, they've got the work ethic, but the one thing that messes with their confidence the most is that my mom may not be able to afford this. And they'll come out and say, Miss Taryca, my mom may not be able to do that. Okay, we self-advocate for yourself. Don't hold yourself back, because if I don't know, I can't help you. And then it builds, again, like you said, that community within, where other parents see, okay, I see she's coming in. She's got the same, leotard, and we'll literally just drop a leotard off on the desk, that they picked up from the store. I think this is her size. Please pass it along. Please don't say anything. Don't let, we don't want her to know. I just wanted to do this. Their daughters don't even know, but constantly looking out for each other. And like you said, some people may say, oh, that's just they're kind people, but I do feel like these are godly people, right?
Yeah.
That will go out of their way and do it in a discreet way to make sure that this person feels acknowledged and loved by someone else. So like you said, confidence is huge, but it does play a big part in our studio when it comes to, we're diverse, but there's different incomes and diversity, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, and just, having that. So
Talk about diversity and equity and inclusion and all that. Now, it was a hot button
it's a
topic.
button. It's a
Yeah,
button.
it's a button. It's a
It's a
button.
button.
So, yeah, talk about that a little bit. How do you kind of bridge that gap between a segment of kids who may have a passion for the arts that want to do that, but maybe, can't financially, or their parents can't financially put them? I know you talked about a lot of community outreach and donors. Are there grants? Are there fundraising opportunities that you do out in the community to kind of help with that? How do y'all kind of
Thank you.
facilitate?
Yeah, so the church that I attend is the International Denominational Church of God. It's in Gaithersburg off of Woodfield. I actually started doing dance ministry through them before I opened up the studio. Just something I was doing just because my heart wanted me to do that and be in that place. And the pastors there have been amazing. So when they saw that the studio was coming up, they've been able to raise funds and donate back to those dancers. I also have my husband he has an aunt, and his aunt is just incredible. But she found out that I was opening the studio. She started seeing pictures, and she said, I have a group of old ladies, and that's how she refers to them. And I'm like, seniors, right? Our daughters are older. We loved seeing them perform. We loved, just having them on stage. And we want other moms to have that feeling too, of that parental pride, right? So she actually gathered a group of senior women, and they donated back to the studio. And their biggest request was, because they were African American, it's what they wanted, is that we just want to make sure that our funds go to an African American student that is, or mom that you may see struggling in the studio. And, if they're about to pull out, tell them we got them covered. We'll get them to the end of the year so that they don't have to quit on their journey, upward. So they are just, and I like to say this, they are very discreet, kind. They don't have a name for the group of them. And every year they've been funding some of these individual girls. And most of the girls that started with me back in 2018, when it came back to returning from the pandemic, it was the one thing I could offer their parents, knowing that they had lost their jobs and they were on the search. It's that, Miss Taryca, I can't afford dance. We're trying to figure out how, where work is going to be, or one parent has work and the other doesn't. So it's a one income household. And I said, it's not going to be like that forever. So we did create a little legacy fund where we said, we will cover you until you get back on your feet. And all of those parents are still with me. And as they kind of reclaim their financial positions, they are now funding the legacy fund. So we don't have grants because we're not a nonprofit. We have beautiful people surrounding and covering the studio.
Community, man. Community. I love it. And it's a very delicate dance. See what I did there? That you have to partake and participate in when you have this segment of women, these senior women doing this amazing thing. You want to acknowledge them.
You
right?
too.
You want to give them their flowers, but they're like, nah, it's not even about us. We just want to, so how do you kind of do that? Because we have the same thing within our investment group. There are a segment of people that see what we do when they hear 12 black men are doing what we're doing.
Oh yeah.
Most people, if not all people, look at us like, how'd y'all do that? Like what?
Yeah.
Like we're aliens with a third eye in the middle of our forehead. But we had a mission to complete something, and we're doing it. And just having that passion and purpose behind what you're doing and people believing in that, the community is going to lock arms and make sure y'all got what y'all need to. So
They sure do.
man, shout out to the church, shout out to the pastors over there, shout out to those senior women.
Oh, amazing, amazing.
Covering y'all.
I tell them I'm blessed to have these individuals in my life, and they all have their own stories, right, of how they wanted to do dance and couldn't, and wish that they had the opportunity. Just felt like they weren't included. So that's huge with our studio. I do get a lot of dancers that come in, or at least when we started really revving up on the enrollments, where they're coming in at 13 years old, and I'm like, what is it with this age 13, right? How come you haven't been dancing before? And I look at them, and again, all different body types. We have, different religious backgrounds as well. We even have the Jewish community has started supporting the studio as well. So we have, and actually we'll talk about the women's nomination, but it was a rabbi that actually put me in that place because she's been able to see me work with her own daughter. And I thought they were just stopping by to just, get some lessons in and kind of make her way onto a more dance ballet conservatory. And she was like, we're never leaving you. So it's just being an open-minded individual. And yes, we are African-American people, but we don't close doors for anybody, right? People close so many doors on us and our parents and grandparents, and like I said, we're not that old. So segregation with our grandparents, we've heard those stories. So I would be a fool to say, oh, this is just for African-American students. This is for anybody that ever said no to your dance or your child, or told them that they would never see them on this type of stage, or they could never do that type of dance. So, our drive and passion is making those dance dreams come true, where somebody else has kind of done something else and said something else, or may have gave you a face like you didn't belong, and just, shutting those doors in their face and surprising them when the door opens and you're on stage and you're center stage.
Those microaggressions are real. We didn't know what they were when we were growing up. People doubting us and giving us like, "Oh, really? You want to do that? Oh, okay, that's interesting." Oh,
It's oh yeah.
So many backhanded comments, man. Growing up, and again, I didn't know at the time what those were. They felt weird, but yeah, that's real. So shout out to you for not closing them out and paying that forward to the next generation. So you mentioned 13. We'll talk about marketing and how you grasp the artists and performers that you take into your studio. Is 13 the ideal age? And also who's like your target market when you're going out? Put your entrepreneur hat on real quick.
Gotcha. Okay.
Trying to bring in
yeah.
There you go. People.
Yeah. So ideal age for us is the babies. So, and I say babies, so I'm talking those preteen 4-year-olds, right? That nobody else.
4 years old? Okay.
Yep. 4, because everybody's like, oh, they're wild. They don't stop moving. They just, you can't get them to stand still on a dot. So a lot of studios won't offer to them. And I like to be the first ones that they meet, because I'm going to build a love for dance first. And then once they start loving it and enjoying it and realizing how fun it is to be on stage and in that atmosphere, it will stay and stick with them. So you're building that confidence earlier with them. So our ideal age group is like getting them in at that pre-K, schooling age group, and then letting them grow up with us. So my heart age is what I'm going to say. So I market to them as well, and you'll see it. I'll say, call it all teens, right? And I specifically say beginners and returners. So I'm like, beginner, teen, ever thought about, taking a ballet class, a lyrical class? Most of the kids are in contemporary styles because of all of the, so you think you can dance and what they see. So I will put that out there. And, most of my kids have been with me. So I'll basically highlight my teen dancers, and I do target that middle school age group, because I do feel like if you haven't already been into a sport before middle school, it kind of gets a little tricky, right? Because it's when you can do it for your middle school, or you got to go travel team. So it's that, like, which route am I going to make? And then you have these, which I love, Montgomery County has started putting in schools, these little dance teams after school, and reintroducing them to that earlier so that they can kind of figure out, is it for me or not? But before that, there was nothing. If you weren't in, athletics like soccer and basketball, as far as the girls, right, there wasn't a lot out there for you. So I'm reaching for those 13-year-olds that they've been in middle school and they're not sure really what they're into because they don't feel like they're good at anything, even if people tell them they're amazing. But if your peers don't see that and say that to you, you don't believe it. You don't believe the adults. So I'll say, calling all beginners. We're looking for teens, and teens, and I'll do the age group. So they can be 13 to 17 years old, but obviously we want the 13-year-olds so that they can stay with us and build with us.
Gotcha. And when you put out that APB, do you do that online? Do you run ads? Do you use social media? What platforms do you?
We're social media for the most part. Gets most of our response. Most of the girls, they're on there, right? So they'll see it, and we just do targeted marketing. So we'll boost the ads. Facebook is there, yes, but normally we get kind of our parent entrance from there, or grandparent entrance from there. But Instagram, if we do a reel of just our teens doing a workout or a turn sequence in their regular old studio wear, so not anything fancy where they feel like they have to jump into a costume right away, but just regular calisthenics or bar work, and they see that they're the same age, and we just boost it. And that has been the best turnaround that we've had.
Very cool. So you did mention this 2025 Her Story, honoring women making history in Montgomery County. Talk about that and give you flowers for all the amazing work that you're doing over there.
Thank you. So that was just an incredible surprise that one of my moms that brought her daughter to me after they actually moved here from Virginia a couple years ago. They came into me in 2019. So pre-pandemic and all of that good stuff. But they came in and with a hurt story. Her daughter had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which, she was put on medication for after being cast in the company, right? So anywho, to make company, you have to be like close to that prima ballerina and have this body type and all of these things at that studio in Virginia. And when she started taking the medication, her daughter started taking the medication and started to gain weight significantly, about 15 pounds of extra weight. And she was about 12 years old when it happened. So her mom, quickly removed her from the studio because they were calling her names like duck butt and, just making outward comments to the fact that she had picked up weight. So they were moving to this area anyway. She searched about 5 different studios and got me on the phone. And I, wasn't sure at first because I didn't know her, but this particular mom, she kind of poured out to me as a mom that had been hurt. Her child had been hurt, and she, you want to protect your kids. So she was very adamant to me, like, what are you going to do at your studio? How do you talk to your kids? Do you have body imaging requests when you're doing your lineup? She really wants to do this as she grows in her ballet career. Is that something you're going to be offered? So, so many questions came in and flooded. And I can tell because she asked so many questions that someone had hurt her child. And she was really just trying to put up a shield, even though her daughter still wanted to come out and dance. So I got to actually work with this beautiful individual from 2019 to today. She's actually going to be a graduating senior and making her way to UMBC in their dance program, no doubt. Her mom got to see me actually build the studio from 25 girls to multiple dancers, boys and girls, and now over 100. So she just really wanted to, after 2 years of trying to get me in on this recognition with Montgomery County women. She said, I need to know more about you. She's like, I know about you in the studio. What are you doing outside the studio? So when we talked about the fact that I'm a special educator, especially, so I work with students with autism and that have severe ADHD from K to 12 grade. And then I teach American Sign Language. I'm an ASL teacher. I'm also the drama teacher, and they just nominated me as the chair of the department this year. So I've been able to kind of reach inside the school students and kind of lift them up, even though they are working, everything is working against them, in life. It's a moment where they come into the drama room and act with me and just let go and express freely. So just kind of having the best of both worlds, is really the aim there. And I think when she nominated me this year and she put all of those different things on there, they're like, oh, she's just not your typical dance teacher that wants, the standard studio and stereotype. This lady is actually working with individuals with disabilities too, and, in an open environment. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. I mean, that's when I put the bug in Mike's ear. Once I saw that, I was like, man, let's finally get this done, please.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad. Yeah.
Would that be considered like a conflict of interest at all? With your position at the school, you're not actively recruiting kids, you have access to them, like, hey,
no. They the parents are, well, it's a private institution. The director actually has really been like, you should definitely share with the parents, right? And so I laid low, and I said, okay, I'm going to be here. I'm going to, do school teaching, and I'm going to keep them separate. And it has been separate most of the time. It was through the drama department when they needed choreography for one of the plays that they found out that I was even a dancer, right? And then my director started to look in a little bit more detail on the transcript and say, oh, wait. Okay, she not only does she doesn't do American Sign Language, she has a master's in theater and minor in dance, and we need a drama instructor. So we're going to reach out, and they asked me for that position. And she knew before that the studio existed and kind of, my goals with that. So the conflict of interest, I want to say, is that I started very part-time at the school, and now I'm full-time, and she's not taking anything less. So yes, but we definitely work on a very strict scheduling, so there's no conflicts of like show dates and things like that.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense.
And then we donate back to the school. They have auction nights and things like that. So we definitely are still giving back in that way too.
For sure. Very dope. So what's next? Look at your crystal ball, 2018 to 2025, 7 years in. Let's look 7 more years. Let's double the time. What are your hopes for your business, for your students 7 years from now?
So for that's great. 7. I'm like, okay, 7 years is a good time. So the big, of course, obvious thing that has to happen is our studio is kind of wall to wall in this moment. The location that we did choose is full, right? So it is time to look at expansion. And, I am definitely going to keep the studio that I have in that location. So it is, I've already started actively looking at just some other areas, just a little further out. A lot of my instructors are coming from, 45 minutes to an hour away to teach where we are. So they're coming from the PG County area and capable of doing beautiful work, in a different location as well. So trying to figure out if we want to go, 20 minutes away from, the current studio and offering that so that we don't have some of our kids traveling from DC coming from so far away, but definitely expansion is next. So we hope to see that actually in the next 2 years. So already kind of setting up plans for that. And then for my students, obviously we have some college individuals that are currently dancing. And I always tell them double major. Why not? If you're going to go in there and dance, double major. Let it be dance, let it be business, let it be, physical therapy and dance, or occupational therapy and dance. Don't stop at dance. You've been doing this all your life. You can do that. But definitely broaden your horizons. So just making sure that my girls find their homes, their home away from home when it comes to dance, in that collegiate level. And I push college hard. Everybody doesn't have to, do college, right? But if that's not the case, then you've already found out what your strength and skill level is, and you'll take classes and you'll sharpen your skills in that area. When it comes to dance and performance, everybody doesn't have to go Alvin Ailey, right? But I know that you will find a place that fits you just well, as long as that I keep sharpening my tools and making sure that I'm still educated on what's being provided out there.
Shout out to Sean Sears, who knows everybody. Everybody who knows Sean knows he knows everybody. His cousin is the lead. She's something over at Alvin Ailey School of Performing Arts. So she's like she's like the face of Alvin Ailey right now. So
beautiful.
there might be some kind of synergy there where we can.
Yeah, we may have to. They have, auditions I know coming up that a few of my girls are going to. So hopefully we run into each other, get to meet, and have to reach out to him and find out. Yeah, that would be awesome.
You personally know Sean? You guys?
Yeah, through Mike.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let Sean know. Sean's always putting people on. Shout out to Sean. I'm curious to know, as you go from 25 students to now 100, and then also looking to expand, how are you finding the help as you hire staff, maybe front desk person, receptionist, other instructors? You mentioned Jose and what he's doing, bringing some of the boys in. How do you find the people that perfectly align with, your vision and what you're trying to do over there at the studio?
There's dance community. So anyone who's worked with me before, sometimes they'll move away, but they'll have a friend or a colleague or someone that they worked with in a studio, and they will refer them to me. Also, excuse me, some of our dance instructors graduated from like UMBC for dance or Towson University. So right here in the area, and even Maryland. So they will say, oh, I have a friend. She's actually leaving, she's leaving her studio because she's moving away from it, or, just, how do I say this? Differences of creativity, right? So they will have a conversation and start up there. I've also posted things on Indeed just to see, but you do get people kind of from further away. I think when that has happened, I'm always like, where are you coming from? Virginia? No, that's too far. So Indeed has helped with our tap dance instructor as well. She has, and it's good because it's not a conflict of interest because it's further away in that perspective, but she lives kind of in the middle. So a lot of that has been word of mouth or through references. When people will reach out and I'll say, oh, I don't have anything now, but can I keep you posted if we're able to offer this style of dance in the future? And that's where, kind of Jose came in. I had an old colleague that was a phenomenal break dancer. He was 6'5" and could do a back tuck in the air and turn into a complete ball, right? And then he would stand back up and you just see legs and arms and you're like, how did you do that? And he's a computer engineer by day. That's his day job. And he said, hey, Taryca, I can't, help you build the boys program, but I know somebody who would be great at it. And I do have sons that I've taught to dance. I have a 7-year-old who is, he's the end of the rainbow, I'm going to say. He is coming up. He's the last one, but he is just a mover. He dances all the time. He comes with his own stuff. He thinks he's a little pop locket kind of doing. But Jose kind of entered at the right time. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. We need a program for the boys. And yes, girls can come in and break dance too. That's completely fine. But we knew that if we put that out there and with it going to the Olympics, that it would be a clear sign of like, oh, hey, I've always wanted to try that. Yeah. So
Is it still going to be in the Olympics? Oh,
That last one. Ooh, if it comes back to the Olympics, we all know it's got to be better. They're gonna
right.
get
I think we just took that one. Actually, there was
ooh,
some really good break dancers there, but we took that one
ooh,
individual who
Australia.
her way
Hmm.
onto the scene and was just like, nah, that wasn't a good look. But
Yeah, we were like, we can all do that, but we wouldn't, not on national TV.
right. I mean, that's the world. That was seen around the
I mean,
world.
that was
It
just,
went
ooh,
viral.
I do. Ooh, I didn't live that down. Yeah, yeah.
But the mission statement I'm reading here verbatim is to provide exceptional dance and performing arts education that promotes and establishes a positive, professional, and interactive community for students. And from the looks and sound of how you go about your business and the community that you've built, you're doing that and some. Continue to flourish and thrive and be the best versions of yourselves that you can be. And you have our support 1,000% through Sean, Mike, and everyone else. But yeah, we just gotta give you your flowers for everything that you built over there. I haven't been by the studio.
Thank
Just
you.
again on the
I'll
outside
take
looking
that.
in, we've admired and appreciated what you meant to the community for a while now. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and giving me a platform so I can speak about what I love doing, the most. And I do have to mention one thing. I almost forgot, and my girls will kill me when they watch this, but we did go to a competition 2 weeks ago, and our girls came back regional champions. So I do
Hey.
have and they'll be headed to the National Dance Championship. So I just shout out to my girls. I wouldn't be here without them.
Oh wow, where's the national championship at?
National Championship happens in two locations, Kalahari Resort in the Poconos,
Mm,
and then also happens over in California. So
okay.
they kind of split the deck. Yeah.
So y'all gonna have girls in two different locations, or y'all just going up to
We're
PA?
going to do Poconos this year and in just the one location, and with hopes that next year we can take our oldest girls across.
I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on regionals and
Thank you.
y'all will kill it. Y'all will kill it. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, any other things you want to share with everybody? Share, or if not, let the listeners and the viewers know where they can find you, where they can support you. If there's another group of senior women or men or people that want to support and
Yeah.
don't do all the amazing things that y'all are doing, tell them how they could do that too.
Well, definitely visit the website. It's www.legacypa, so performingartscompany.com. And you can reach out to me through of course, the contact right there. It's the easiest way. Also see how the girls are doing and growing within the community, what we're doing, what current events or upcoming events we'll get ourselves into this year. And you can also, of course, we're on Instagram, Legacy PA Company on Instagram as well. So check us out there. Send us a little DM or a little love and support, and we appreciate it. One thing that I do want to say is that there is for sure being an entrepreneur, and it sounds wonderful right now today, but there was a part of my journey that I didn't want to stop and quit. But as I look back in that moment, it wasn't worth it. So if you are grinding right now and you feel like you're at a standstill or a pause, the moment that you take that breath and let that mental fog clear up, you'll actually figure out which way that you're headed. So don't stay there long. Don't stay stuck. Keep moving. Thank you, guys.
I feel like there's an official practice that you teach over there because you mentioned mental fog a couple times. Can you walk us through that process? How you the
I'm
mental
like,
fog?
what is this
I
mental
just saw a
fog?
visual of you in front of your whole class of
That's
students
right.
teaching them how to do this.
Okay, so in class, and it depends on the age group, it's really just it's self-talk, right?
Let's grown folk. How we do that?
You know. So
Yeah.
first, you got to drink a lot of water, right? Because a lot of times that comes with dehydration, right? You feel like, oh, something's off, right? So hydrate yourself first. Get yourself in a stretched out position. So I don't care if male or female, you're going to get into that standard straddle that every sport does, and you're going to, of course, just focus on your breathing. Stretch to one side, and I always do 16 counts, not 8, because 8's not enough.
Mhm.
So 16 and 16, and then stretch down in the middle. Once you come up from that, and you sit in that like upward position, just take the deepest breath. And a lot of times people take breaths, they do the right here. So I actually say take your breath through a straw, right? So that you can really full your entire core and back and release any tensed areas. So you're going to go and hold it and hold it and hold it as long as you can. And then once you let it out, think about why you started what you're doing and where you want to see yourself. And if you can't see where you're headed, then in that moment you think about why you started and you picture yourself as being the best person in the room. So whether you're a basketball player or football player or a dancer, I'm the most beautiful dancer on stage right now. What does that look like? How can I do that now? If you're a basketball player, I'm the best baller in the game. And not just because I think so. What do I have that's good that adds value to that game? So that's how we start to clear up our mental fog and kind of remotivate ourselves at the studio.
That is a real practice, people. I'm trying to tell y'all. That is a real practice. Before I stepped on years ago, because I'm way past my prime, before I stepped on any court, I'm breathing. Even today, still today, I still reset and do. People are like, "Hey, you all right?" I'm like, "No, I just took a breath. Like a good breath sometimes feels good, but like that mental, I'm the best person on this court, and I'm picking people out like individually. Better than him. I'm better than him.
Yeah.
Me. Oh, him. I'm about to mop him right now. Like going through that. Telling yourself that, call it positive words of affirmation, whatever you want to call it. That's a real thing that develops confidence. And then once you see results in that,
right,
just being in that right mindset is a game changer. Oh my
goodness. Is. And then you play better, you perform better, you do everything better, and you think more clearly because you're like, oh yeah, okay, here we go, we got progress, and then just ideas, yeah.
The moment that I always draw back to where you see a lot of mental fog. For any basketball fans, remember Nick Anderson? They used to play the Orlando Magic, missing I think it was 4 or 5 free throws in a row. Free throws that he's done since he was a kid. Boom, boom, the automatic. He was a great free throw shooter at the time, like upper 80, maybe 88, 89%. But when the moment was biggest, and with every shot that he missed, you could see he's just beating himself up like, dang, he's just getting more and more tense. If he would have, I think one free throw would have made the difference in those. And he was never the same after that. So that mental fog, people. You learned it here first.
Thank you.
But no, thank you again for your time, for your consideration, again, for what you represent in the community. You are a gem. Shout out to you and your family and your husband that's supporting you in everything that you do.
Thank you.
Again, if there's anything that E.I.G can do to support you, you are officially a family member now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nate. I love being on here, and I'm so proud of what y'all are doing in the community. I can't wait for Juneteenth and Father's Day. I can't wait to get out there to see how it's grown, with my fresh eyes, and not just on the real after, but I've already heard so many great things of y'all growth, so I can't wait to get out there again. Thank you for your time today.
We're going to be out here. Thank you all for listening to this amazing exchange that we just had on the Extraordinary Exchange. Again, I'm Nate. Shout out to my co-hosts who weren't able to be here tonight, but I couldn't do this without Case and Benz. Thank y'all. Thank you to the fellas over at Extraordinary Investment Group. Again, we 12 Black men that are doing what we can in the community through education and smart financial strategies to better ourselves and our community. So until next time, thank you both. Ms. Rika.
Thank you.
Baltimore, as she's more affectionately known on Instagram.
Thank you
for your time, and we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Bye.